This hot take is probably sort of evolved a little bit in the last few days since I come up with it. So let's start with where it's evolved to. Has Joel Mazzulla done enough to save his job? You know, I guess suddenly Celtics now won three in a row, forced to game seven, can go either way now, 48 minutes. Hey, if they win, they go into the finals. That's where they got to last year, and who knows what happens there. But look, ultimately, if they lose, all right, they went out, swinging. They obviously, landed at least three punches in the last three games, and they just couldn't do it a fourth time for your first team in history to do that a fourth time. I guess in part, this take initially was, will the Miami Heat be the first team to fire three coaches in a row? That was
Do you mean the
initially
Boston
the take.
Celtics?
Yeah. The Miami Heat. They got the Bucks coach fired.
Oh, I get you.
They
I
got
get you.
the
Yes, sorry.
Sixers
Yes.
coach fired, and could they have got the Celtics coach fired too? So I guess, look, like I said, the take has evolved a little bit here. Has Joe Mazzulla done enough to save his job? I don't know. What do you think?
Well, very rarely do you get a successful team with one coach and then they are also successful the following season with a different coach. Like, very rarely does that ever happen, right? Normally you have a team that needs a shake-up and then they become successful. Um, I just think the issue for Joe is his resume. Like, if people actually unpack his resume a little bit, he was not their first in line candidate. The main issue was is that when the Celtics issue occurred, it was very late into the off season slash the start of the season that there were issues in terms of the candidates available to begin with. And then there was a little bit of philosophy that keep it internal, and that's an organizational move, and then you don't get someone else in that changes everything. He, I don't think he can be fairly assessed as being a good or a bad coach. I think he's just been thrust upon a circumstance that really, or any of us, you and I could have popped in as the Boston Celtics coach and probably had a similar outcome. You're dealing with talented players with a system that's already in place and vets that really have a desire to win. I think we all could have potentially coached them to at least the playoffs, right? And he does have a team of people who assist him in making certain decisions, but clearly he doesn't have the X's and O's. Clearly doesn't have the expertise or the experience to really push them over the hump. Um, I think I think it isn't unrealistic that he'll be gone in the offseason. I think considering how many candidates have become
So,
available
so, so you,
already based
I
off the
guess,
Miami Heat.
so I guess you're saying right now you think Joe Mazzulla is going to get fired here, regardless whether he wins or loses Game Seven.
Yeah, I'd say so. I don't see
What if
why
what
he
if he
would.
what if he wins a ring? You
If
gotta
he
walk. You gotta walk
outcoached,
that back here. You gotta walk that back right now. I think. Yeah.
if he if he outcoached Michael Malone and beat the Denver Nuggets, who
Yep.
have
The
now
two-time
had close
MVP.
to like 2 weeks rest, two-time MVP, Jamal Murray playing at a really high level,
Yep.
competing against Jokic for, Finals MVP honors, and then obviously the role players and the depth, the youth that is, on the side of the vets, so to speak, versus Boston. If all of those things somehow went into Joe's favor, and we can accredit that, because we're not talking about Jason Tatum scoring 50 every game, and then that's what leads them to the championship. We're talking like, oh, Joe Mazzulla called really good out of bounds plays and timeouts and challenged the right calls and really had a good scheme to stop Jokic. If all of that happened and they won a championship, then no, I don't think they would fire him.
So
But that
what
is
if Joe
the only
Mazzulla?
circumstance.
What if the Celtics went to the finals? So they won Game Seven and they took the Nuggets to 5 or 6 games. So at least they picked up
Nope,
one or two wins. You reckon Joe
no.
Mazzulla is still getting fired?
Yes, yes, because if they lose again and they're like a game or two away, surely they would have felt that with Udoka, with the continuity that could have been created with two consecutive seasons for him, they might have been able to push them over the hump, right? And
Are you tripping, dude? Are you getting me fired up here? Because you're basically saying that if Udoka was coaching this team versus Joe Mazzulla's coaching this team right now, and they both either coach was in the finals, you're saying Udoka would make the right moves to get them over the Nuggets?
I would say Udoka would already have the Boston Celtics in the finals. I think all of their respective series would have been far shorter. I do not think Atlanta goes to six. I don't think that Philadelphia goes to seven, and Miami definitely does not go to seven. And then they're already resting, their game planning for Jokic, and they would have a legitimate shot of being better, right? So uh, I, that's fine. You have your
I,
opinions.
I,
I have
I,
my opinions.
I guess, initially, like I said, this take has evolved a little bit now, and it's probably evolved one more time here. That I think you're really giving Joe Mazzulla a really short stick right now. You touched upon it. Obviously, he's coming to literally maybe in the NBA history one of the hardest coaching gigs, where he's taken a team on, and last year they made the NBA Finals. Okay, so there could not be a higher benchmark for him set because I guess a coach that wins an NBA Finals not going to vacate. Yeah, I would not imagine unless it's controversy a coaching position. So this is the second highest or the highest runners-up position here to come in as a coaching role, and then the organization to ask you to take this team a step further, which is ultimately win a ring. And I guess you're saying here that he gets this one season to either keep his job or not. I don't know. I think that's crazy, man. I don't think the Boston Celtics and Brad Stevens, I think, is fairly high on him. He's the one that sort of put him into that position anyway. And look, I don't know. I think he's safe at least for another year. But you're definitely saying that he's 99.9% not.
I'd say he needs to win a championship, otherwise, no. And this is a classic case of recency bias because we were literally staring down the barrel of them being swept. And that is not like irrelevant of how you feel about, oh, like, you can fall behind in a series. Boston should not be losing the first two games at home to the eighth seed. That is just kind of like how it, like that was poor preparation, poor
Okay,
mentality, whatever it may be.
that happens though. That happens. But the difference between what Missoula has done versus Doc Rivers versus Mike Budenholzer is that he has got his team to respond. Okay, like Rivers was obviously up, okay, against the Celtics in this sense, and he couldn't close it out. And then that last game was such a whimper that they just sort of didn't even put up a fight, and then suddenly his two superstars are sort of like, we need more help. Yeah, how many more superstars can we get? Right? It just was the mindset was not there and correct at that point. And I guess here the Celtics did lose three in a row, now have won three in a row. Game seven, who knows what will happen? But I don't know. I think he's done enough at least to go, well, look, let's bring back one more year and go from there.
Well, that's a big debate, though, right? So, what is the role of a coach? Because a lot of people feel that, like there's two sides of this coin, right? Talent is what carries teams to championships, and then coaching can bring it out. And we're looking at a series in which Joe Mazzulla has made the Eastern Conference Finals off a talented team, whereas we could probably say Miami has been well coached to get there, right? So, there's clearly a measurable impact. There's a mentality aspect. There's the luck of the game. Like as Eric Spoelstra referenced, Miami wins that game if not for a tip in at zero point 0.1 seconds. Now, yes, you have to play the full 48 minutes. Yes, they should have boxed out. There's all this revisional stuff, but they were right there to win it, and it's a play at the end of the day. That's not a coaching thing. They contested the shot, they stopped the handoff. It was all of that. It's just how it played out. With Joe Mazzulla, he has not prepared the Boston Celtics very well. They're, and it's not just in the interim, it's not just in the immediate day-to-day game-to-game stuff. What is happening in practice? What is the culture that they're setting? What is the
He has
consistency?
not prepared the Boston Celtics very well, and they've just won three in a row and about to
What
potentially win a game seven. But
what what
he's
would you
not
expect
prepared
a
them. So,
team?
so who's prepared them well? Jason Tatum. He's the one preparing them well. Who's preparing them the last three games that they won three in a row now?
What would the okay? So here's the thing: do you need a coach to tell you, "Hey, we were the favorites in the series and we're down 3-0. That's bad." Do you not think? Do you really feel like, you know what? I needed Joe Mazzulla to come in here and tell me I should try a little bit harder because I thought it was over. Like I
I,
just thought I
I
was like,
think
oh, what's the
I think
point? We just
you
give up now.
I guess I'm a coach. Obviously, you've been a coach in the past too, and you're basically minimizing the impact we have on a game. Can we control the effort and energy and the result of the ball going through the ring? No, ultimately not. Yeah, but can we control outside the boundary of the court? Player rotations, player mindsets, player preparation leading to the game. What you're supposed to be, maybe thinking about or focusing little adjustments that you can make because last game you didn't play so well and so on and so forth. Absolutely. And that's the whole job of a coach, is it not?
I think all we're doing is we're looking at results because Boston, and you know what, this did happen with Udoka last year, so maybe there's some merit to the fact that something's going on with the Boston thing. But you can't play around like this. So historically speaking, um, and someone can do the fact checking for me. Teams don't win the championship when this happens. You can't just keep extending. You can't go 7 games in every series, and you can't go down constantly in every series, and you can't be like 500 or below at home, like across the playoffs to win the championship. You can't keep mucking around, right? And the team that they're mucking around against is the 8th seed. And you look at the path that Miami took, it's where one of those things that Jimmy Butler went out of his mind. But, as a weird fun fact, the only team that currently has eliminated Miami from the playoffs is the Atlanta Hawks, and they got bounced very quickly, right? So there's a lot of asterisks to this playoff run. It's always very random, but the Celtics really were poised to just cruise through to the finals, and they have not done that. And something has went wrong along the way. And I think it's safe to say that Joe Mazzulla would be partly or fully responsible for some of that.
This is Two Guys with Spare Time. I'm Fowles, this is Nick. You're probably a basketball fan like us, so hopefully you can throw us an assist and giving our video a like and subscribing to our channel.
And if you got thoughts, feelings, or even some suggestions, please put them down in the comment section below. And thank you for using your spare time to watch us in our spare time.